All right, so as we come up to the table here, we arrive at the table, and again, we want this to be fun. We want it to be celebratory. They've just spent a lot of money on one dish that's going to be shared. So oftentimes I'll come up to the table and say your appetizers arrived, just to start kind of breaking the ice just a little bit. So part of the prep before you leave the kitchen is that you got a couple plates that have been warmed up in the window. So these plates are warm, they're ready to go. We're going to spread these out onto the side of our cart. This table has also ordered a side of broccoli to come with us. So anytime we have a side, we want to make sure, if it was mashed potatoes, for example, we want to make sure we have the serving spoon. Here we've got the tongs because we're going to use that for part of the service. I'm going to take a break. And then we've also got a spoon, so when we're done, we're going to decide whether they would like it to be part. If they're sharing it, maybe only one person's having that, so we ask the question, we're going to share the broccoli this evening? Yes, perfect. So knowing that they're going to share, we're going to put some on the plate and then put the rest on the table. So as we arrive at the table, again, we've had some fun with them. Your appetizers here, I want to talk to you a little bit. So I'll ask the question, like, how much do you know about beef? And the answers vary. I don't know anything. I like to eat it. Oh, I'm a cattle rancher. Used to be a butcher. Perfect. So give me just a little bit of information to kind of base this off of. So as we begin the process here, we talk about beef a little bit. So of all the beef processed annually in the United States, on average, only 3% qualifies to be considered in the USDA prime grade. Now, how they determine that is as the carcass is hanging, they cut it between the 12th and the 13th rib, and they expose this muscle, which is the eye of the rib. Depending on how much marbling is present, which is intramuscular fat, the specks of white fat in the middle of this muscle, determines the grade for the entire animal. When that muscle is whole and then cooked and sliced, it's called prime rib. When that muscle is whole, sliced, and then cooked, it's called ribeye steak. So ribeye steak and prime rib are the exact same muscle, just different preparations. So when that muscle is cut, it's one bone per steak. That's why we have an average of 34 ounces plus on our specs. We have two muscles involved here. So we've got the spinalis, which is the outer muscle. Then we have the eye, which is the main muscle. So the eye, the way the animals work is that the more a muscle is used, the more connective tissue and sinew that muscle develops. So the eye of the muscle is the muscle that does all the work as the animal is walking. The spinalis simply holds that muscle and retains that muscle up to the bone. So there's going to be a significantly different flavor profile in the spinalis than the eye. And so we want to make sure that each of you have an opportunity to taste the spinalis. So we're going to split this spinalis so you can share that. Then as we go to begin slicing, it's important that we slice at a 45-degree angle from outside towards the inside, cutting about half-inch chunks or so, maybe 3/8 of an inch. So it's important that you take the first slice off the end. The next slice, I always like to open that up and ask the guest degree of doneness is going to work for you. Medium rare, perfect, excellent, thank you very much. At that time, they're going to say, oh, it's a little bit under. We can stop, give them a little bit of the end cut, get them started, take this back and finish cooking it or bring the temperature up. So we cut at a 45-degree angle, which is considered to be on the bias. And then what we're going to do is make sure that as we get down to the end, even though it looks like we're starting off the end, we're still having a pretty considerable size for that last piece there. We want to divide this evenly, or as evenly as possible. So we'll take 3 or 4 slices there. We'll take another 3 or 4 slices. And then if we get down where we've got 3 pieces here, I always like to take and cut that end piece to split that so that each person gets a little piece of that end. And then what we'll do is we say we got a little bit of demi-glace. If the guests would like to have some of the broccoli here, we'll put this broccoli tuck that in onto the side. Just give them a few pieces more for plate presentation than anything. And then offer the spoon for the rest to be shared on the table. And then we're going to want to offer a little bit of demi-glace just to richen that steak up. So pour a little bit of the demi-glace around the outside of the steak. Now it's important, at this juncture, we're dealing with one bone and usually two guests. So man and a female joining together. What I like to say is, here you are for you, miss, and serve for you. There is only one bone. It happened to make it to your plate. I need to warn you though, she also has a steak knife. So if she'd like to try that, my suggestion is you just say yes, dear, or yes, depending on sort of the profile. If it's two gentlemen, oftentimes I'll joke with them a little bit, like who's picking up the check, or I might even say, the flip of the coin is that the person that's got the bone is picking up the tab tonight. But again, the point is to have some fun with it. Go through some of the points, like the top 3% of all beef in the United States qualifies for prime. It's rather exclusive. Talk about the eye of the rib and the spinalis. And most importantly, make sure we're slicing on the bias so we can fan it out and make it look like it's even more steak. It's already a big steak, but for plate presentation purposes, we want to fan that out and spread it out. There's your hatchet.